Hello everyone, Giltar here with an action figure review. This time we'll be looking at Kamen Rider IXA from Bandai's SH Figuarts line of action figure products. Now this is a review that was kind of requested by Versus Z. I showed IXA in a previous video of mine, and Versus Z commented and really showed some interest in seeing this figure reviewed, so here we go. Now to start off, this is a fairly new action figure. It only was first released a few months ago, January of 2010, but it quickly sold out, and fortunately it's being re-released by Bandai, so we have another batch of these figures coming out this July. Normally it retails for 3,200 yen, or about $34 American. Now, I'm going to say right off the bat that I'm not going to go into the articulation of this figure. The reason being is that pretty much any SH Figuarts figure from the Kamen Rider line, they all pretty much have the same level or range of articulation, which is to say, an extremely wide range of articulation. Anything that you need from this figure for posing purposes in your collection, you're going to be able to get out of it. Whatever you can't get, the figure will still be able to come really close to what you need. I mean, if you want to get more information about Figuarts articulation, what you can do, and I'll show you an example. I've already reviewed another Agito figure here, and Kamen Rider Double Cyclone Joker. I've also got Heat Metal and Gatak over there. Now, if you really want to know more about the articulation in the Figuarts figures, just go watch one of my 2 previous videos on Figuarts products, or go see any other review here on YouTube. There's some really great reviews out there, some prominent Figuarts-centric reviewers out there. Just do a search for Figuarts and you'll find some great reviews where you can see in-depth examination of the articulation these figures are capable of. So we'll start off on just the details of the figure. First of all, it's just really well sculpted. Just the fine paint work that's being done or being shown here is just amazing. On my figure, there are no paint application errors, no blemishes. Everything's just really well done, and basically the sculpt is just spot on. It's accurate to the show costume, and a really great figure to represent the character of IXA in your collection. Now I will want to speak about a certain accessory for the first thing that we get into, which is the display stand. It's a Tamashii stage stand. I believe it's the action support type, because these components here make up the multi-jointed sort of support arm. Now this is the base of the stand, which is in a black plastic bag. That's to hide a catchphrase that is actually printed on the stand. Now there are several catchphrases that are spoken by IXA, and you get one of them. It shows a picture here of the stand and I think a printout of the different catchphrases that you can get. Now, I don't know which one I received, because first of all, obviously I didn't open the stand packaging yet. As well, I don't know how to read Japanese, so when I do eventually take it out, I'm going to take a photo of it and ask some people for some help, because I'd like to know which phrase I received there. And move on to the other accessories. Let's start off with the 2 heads that comes with the figure. It comes attached, or rather the figure comes attached with the burst mode head in the packaging, which is sort of a powered up form of the normal IXA mode. As you can see here, it displays the standard Kamen Rider compound bug eyes. What happens is that the visored faceplate splits and opens up and reveals those eyes. As you can see, the helmet is just really nicely sculpted, no paint application errors. The shade of gold here is really nice and warm and rich. As well, the dark, sort of really ruby red plastic used for the clear eyes really matches well with the blue, white, black, and silver and gold parts of the helmet. Now, for the save mode head, I want to point out something that's really something that I think is really exceptional, in that if you look behind the helmet here to the sides of the faceplate, you can see some gaps where if you shine a light on it, you can actually see the presence of clear red plastic that's used for the compound eyes. Now, why that I think is important is, first of all, I don't recall seeing any other reviewer mention that part of the helmet, and for the fact that it's just a crazy point of detail. It's the attention to detail that we sometimes see in such action figure products is really just outstanding. I mean, it doesn't serve any practical or utilitarian function, but just knowing that there's compound eyes behind the faceplate just makes you feel like there's just a higher quality of product that you're dealing with. Another sort of example of attention to detail is the way that on the bottom of the soles of the boots of IXA is that you see actually a molding of the numbers 193, which could be read in Japanese as ikuza. That's just another sort of attention of detail, point of detail that really makes fans of the shows and characters, I think, quite pleased and happy. I know I am by seeing these little details because ultimately it's a product, it's a commercial product. It's not anything particularly special. It's a high-end product, but it's a piece of merchandise. But when you see these little details like ikuza on the feet and the presence of clear plastic compound eyes behind the save mode mask, which you'll never take off, I mean, those kinds of points really, I think, for me at least, it makes this figure even better. Now moving on to the hands, you have 6 pairs of hands. The first pair of hands that you get basically are fists. They come attached with the figure, really nicely sculpted, accurate to the show in that they're bulky, armored fingers and thumb armor around it. Now you have also a splayed open finger hand, which I have here, and it's also one that's attached to the figure. And finally you have a grip fist hand for holding weapons. Next up is the IXA belt and IXA knuckle. You have 2 versions. You have a single molded IXA knuckle and belt that is sort of, you can display it on the figure. It attaches to the front of the waist via a T-shaped peg. Or you have a separate pair where you have the IXA belt here and the IXA knuckle, which could be wielded as a weapon. Now the only problem with this is that the single molded piece is significantly smaller in dimensions. And in fact, this handheld IXA knuckle, for example, is more accurate to the show prop. It is something that's quite large and bulky, whereas this part is really tiny. It doesn't look like it should fit. Next up are the fusillats, which are holsters for these fusils, these whistles that IXA uses. On this side we have the Garalu, Basha, and Daga fake fusillats, and on this side we have the powered caliber and knuckle fusillats, or fusils rather, and they attach to either side of the waist. There are circular ports there, which these circular pegs connect into. Finally, we have the IXA caliber in both forms, whether you want the pistol or gun form or the sword form. Just like everything else in this figure, really well sculpted parts, flawless paint applications, and basically accurate to the show props. Now some people may complain about the fact that you have 2 IXA calibers rather than one, which has swappable parts to change its form. To be honest, I think that's a nitpick. I mean, you're getting an extra piece of physical material, and you are getting both forms, and that, to me, that's the most important part, is that, regardless of how it comes, we're getting both IXA caliber modes, gun and sword forms. I'm happy with that, more than happy. So that's the figure and all the details. So let's move into the pros and cons of this product. I'll go into the cons, and 2 of which are relatively minor, all things considered. First of all, it's an expensive product. At $34 American, you're shelling out a lot of money for a single, toy, essentially. It's an action figure, it's a high-end, quality collector item. It's still a toy, and it's still $34. And you really have to be a fan of the Figuarts line or high-end action figures or Kamen Rider to really consider buying something like this. The second con would be just the relatively small size of the IXA knuckle and belt accessory. It's just that with everything else in this figure that's so spot on and accurate, this mistake here just stands out a little more. But it's a minor con because it does everything, everything else about this figure is excellent. And this one minor mistake is entirely forgivable and just not a big issue for me. So moving on to the pros, first of all, I gotta touch upon the fact that, again, the attention to detail in certain things, I mean all around, but especially things like ikuza on the feet, the compound eye clear red plastic behind the save mode faceplate, the sculpting, the paint application, the plethora of accessories, the range of articulation, everything about this figure combines into an exceptional product. Even if you're not a fan of Figuarts, even if you're not a fan of Kamen Rider, if you can recognize the design and engineering of this kind of product, I mean, that makes it exceptional at the very least. Now, if you are a Figuarts collector and fan, if you are a Kamen Rider fan, especially of the Kamen Rider Kiva show and the character of IXA and the design of the IXA armor, this is a must-get item. I can't say anything but to say I recommend this product. Like I mentioned earlier, it did initially get sold out, but Bandai is re-releasing this figure in July. So if you have the opportunity to pre-order it, go to an online store, go to a physical store. If you have any interest in this, you do want to buy it, I'd say head out and pre-order it now, because a lot of people missed the first time around when IXA was released. I can bet that, for sure that they're going to try to get this again, and so you don't want to be left out one more time on your second chance of getting this figure. It's expensive, but I will say it's worth every penny. So that's my review. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed this review, Z. And I hope you guys all got something out of it. As usual, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.